guys, Val Quinn here for gadgetguy.com.au. So Apple's big announcements, I've just covered that with the keynote, writing a few stories now, but I just thought I'd give you guys some of the top line things that have come out of the event. The first thing is we have new MacBook Pros. Now there are two new models. There's a 16-inch model and a 14-inch model. Actual screen sizes are 16.2 inches and 14.2 inches, but they're here to replace the old 13 and 16-inch models that already exist today. They're totally redesigned from the outside, although I don't think they really look that different than the old MacBook Pros, but they do have some more square edges, and they obviously have a bigger screen in roughly the same amount of space, just with thinner borders. Totally new on the inside, and there's a big change here. Apple has introduced its new Apple-made processors. There's the M1, which was announced a little while ago, but now we have the M1 Pro and M1 Max. For those that understand processors, these have more cores, more CPU cores, more GPU cores. Now they're starting at 10 CPU cores and 16 GPU cores and 16 neural processing cores as well. But I mean, all up, they really are pretty amazing bits of technology, especially the 1M Max, which really ramps everything up. It has 16 gigabytes of unified memory. The other one is 32. It has some pretty amazing capabilities because it's using Apple's own sort of silicon. It doesn't have to kind of fall back to Intel and their kind of older instruction sets and that type of thing. So it is going to be an absolute beast. Apple even described it as a beast. But anyway, enough about the processors. We really need to get our hands on these and test them, but they're touted as being, compared to the fastest Intel laptops out there, just as fast, but with maybe 40% less power consumption. And that's really what matters really right now. So yeah, we have new laptops inside and out. Also, I'm impressed with the fact that we have mini LED displays on both models. So this means that we have very, very high resolution displays, but they're also, with their mini LED backlighting technology, that means that they're very precise in terms of how they handle light and dark. So how the light and dark areas are kind of illuminated by these backlights means there's lots of detail in the darks, as well as very bright. I think it's 1,000 nit screens. So really looks realistic and is great if you're a content creator and you want to create things in high dynamic range. You've got a very broad color gamut for these amazing new screens. But look, on top of that, I think one of the most impressive things about it, which is kind of crazy, it's a bit of a back to the future thing, is they brought back some of the things that they dumped in the old design, like an HDMI connector, an SDXC card slot, as well as the MagSafe connector. And these things were a pain because you'd have to have a dongle plugged into yours before. And I did like the kind of the efficient sleekness of just having these USB-C ports with Thunderbolt on them. However, this time around, you've got these extra ports, plus you have 4 Thunderbolt 4 ports as well. When it comes to the MagSafe, I don't know, I don't really love this because in some ways it's like this is a proprietary connector. I know it's a magnetic end, meaning that if you trip over the cord, it doesn't necessarily pull your laptop off the desk type of thing, but I think USB-C would have let go as well. So it's another kind of proprietary Apple connector you have to contend with. But the good news is that you can still charge it with USB-C. So you can still just plug a USB-C into it and it will charge it. But I believe that the MagSafe version may charge it faster. So that may be the advantage there. Look, on the inside, we're seeing, I think, a 6-speaker sound system with the 16-inch MacBook Pro and a slightly smaller one, I believe, on the 14-inch. So we're seeing enhanced sound. We've also seen a 1080p totally revamped camera, meaning that will look better, more dynamic range, more computational abilities to clean up our images and make us look really good and sound really good. The only thing is that now there's a notch on the screen. Which is kind of what they were trying to get rid of on the iPhone, I think, because making the notch smaller, and then other competitors are getting rid of the notch. So we now have a notch on our MacBook Pro screens. So you can kind of look at this in two ways. One, they could have, but the notch, by the way, goes around the camera. They could have either positioned the camera above it, I guess, and lost some space, so the screen would be smaller, or they figured, screw it, we'll just put the camera in the middle and we'll have a bit more screen space around it. So in some ways you're getting more screen, but you have to contend with the notch at the top. I figure you probably won't notice it after a while anyway. Other things about the new MacBook Pros, they do have fans inside, so yes, the fans will turn on, but Apple says in the keynote that they're expecting that they don't turn on very often. But I guess if you're doing very intensive rendering tasks and that type of thing, they will turn on eventually. But it looks like their cooling systems are quite well thought out. And I guess time will tell how much the fans turn on and how loud they are. But right now, one of the real advantages with the M1 equipped Macs are that they don't get hot. Fans don't turn on if there are fans in them at all. With the MacBook Air, there isn't. With the MacBook Pro, the entry-level 13-inch one, there was, but I'm not sure if that's even going to be sold anymore. So on the music side, Apple has announced a few things. First off, they have revamped not revamped, but they've added a new mid-range AirPod. It's called AirPod. There's still the AirPod second generation, which is cheaper. Then you have these ones, then you have the Pros. And the thing about these ones is that they kind of take most of what you get with the Pros, including the shape of it. So you've got those thinner stalks now, which I think the Pros have definitely sort of improved on those. The original stalks are quite long as they stick out of your ear. Also, you get the spatial audio and Dolby Atmos. So what that means is that now you can listen to spatial music or Dolby Atmos encoded tracks, and it has head tracking, so you can turn your head and the sound, say the cymbals sound like they're over here, you turn your head and they still sound like they're over there, or you get the whole 360 3D sound experience as well. So you get that technology. You also get some of the audio enhancements that tune the sound for your inner ear like you get in the AirPod Pros. But what you don't get is noise canceling. So if you want noise canceling, which is actually quite good on the AirPod Pros, you still need to step up to the AirPod Pro price tag, which is around $400 Australian. These ones are $279 Australian, and then the Generation 2 AirPods are about $219 Australian. So now you have a middle option, and I think it's a good option. It gives you most of those features. There's also improved battery life and reduced charge time, so you're expecting to get about 6 hours of listening time now. I think that's up a couple of hours from the previous model, and charging, I believe, 5 minutes gets you an hour, if I am correct. So you see some improvements there. There's also with the little HomePod mini speakers, they're the same, but now you get a choice of a bunch of other colors. So you get like reds and blues and things like that. I'll put them up on screen. And there's a new cheaper tiered subscription to Apple Music, which is I think it's called Music Voice. And I'm still not 100% sure what this means exactly, but you can listen to Apple Music through your voice operated system. So if you have the HomePod mini, you can, whatever you ask Siri to play for you, it will through the Apple Music service, but I don't think it gives you that, you can't really just log into Apple Music and choose the music you want that way. You just need to ask for it by voice, and that's your connection to that library. So you can get it through that, and it's a bit cheaper, I believe. I think it's around $7, but we'll put the price on screen for you as well. So that's a quick take on all of the announcements this morning. My summary is, look, these MacBook Pros are next level, and they really are putting just about anything you can buy to shame in terms of processing capabilities, in terms of heat generation, in terms of power consumption. It really does mean you can probably ditch your desktop and have a lot of power in just a laptop, but not struggle with the annoyances that you get with other PC laptops where you have to plug them in to get the full power. These ones produce a lot of heat, and they also have a lot of fan noise. The MacBook Pro ones also are probably considerably more powerful than most of the ones that you can buy in the mid-range with the new M1 Pro and M1 Max processors on board. So again, we need to test them and see how they really sort of perform in the real world, but it is certainly not good news for the Intel kind of PC camp out there. But new processors will be coming from other brands as well, so we'll see more activity there. And on the music side, great that we've got another option for AirPods. So there you have it. I'm Val Quinn again for GadgetGuy.com.au, and thanks for tuning in.